We're very happy to share with you a new beginning in curriculum in the Archdiocesan schools beginning this September. Today's world calls for a greater leap in the changes required to keep at the forefront of quality and effective education, and that is one of our goals in the Archdiocesan schools. Soren Kierkegaard tells us that it's very dangerous to go into eternity with possibilities which one has oneself prevented from becoming realities. A possibility is a hint from God. One must follow it. We believe that sincerely, and we don't want to miss out on the opportunity and the possibilities we have with adopting the Common Core standards. Why are the Archdiocesan schools adopting Common Core standards? The Common Core state standards provide a consistent, clear understanding of what students are expected to learn. The Common Core state standards are robust and relevant to the real world, reflecting the knowledge and skills that students need for success in college and in careers. We believe that the Common Core state standards will help us to prepare our students to succeed in their personal and professional lives. The Common Core state standards allow for the depth of understanding rather than the breadth of covering material. Our curriculum is not going to be an inch deep and a mile wide. We are looking much more at the depth of understanding that our students will have in their learning. The Common Core state standards provide fewer standards, solving the problem of the overcrowded standards and curricula that began with the standards movement in the 1980s. The Common Core state standards were informed by nearly 10,000 public comments, by standards of other top-performing countries, by educators, including teachers and chief school officers from across our country. To date, the Common Core state standards have been adopted by 47 states and territories. The American competitiveness relies on a strong education system, one that adequately prepares students to compete successfully in a global economy. The Common Core state standards provide benchmarks for all students, regardless of where they live. This is a first-time movement in U.S. history. Common Core state standards provide an opportunity for educators to work together, to share best practices, and to build a 21st century educational system for all students. Let's take a good look at the overview of the implementation that has been going on in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, and we'd like to share with you some of the changes that you will see in the next few years. To begin with, we have been doing a lot in preparation for this implementation. In the Archdiocese, we have a group of dedicated teachers and administrators who form our curriculum committees. These have been working on the implementation guides for the standards. These guides provide teachers with essential questions, what students need to be able to do, the related standards and skills, content area and technology connections, and ideas for assessments, both formative and summative. In a sense, these guides will become the core of what students will learn. To share with you what the teachers will be doing, we're going to break down those pieces so you have an idea of what will be happening in our classrooms. The first area of the implementation guide for each topic is the essential questions. What should the student be able to answer? What guides their thinking? To give you an example, if I were looking at the English Language Arts curriculum, I might want to answer the essential question, what is an information paragraph? What is the topic of my paragraph? How do I use the facts and definitions to develop an information paragraph? And how do I write a closing statement? Assessment is key to good learning. What will the student be expected to know, understand, and be able to do as a result of their learning? Some examples. And you'll notice that these examples don't require pencil and paper tests. They're a little bit broader than that. A form of assessment is that the students would gather the information, make a list, organize the list, write the information paragraph, share the information with their classmates, and complete a report and illustrate their report. What skills do I need to have in order to answer essential questions? Here's an example taken from the math curriculum. The students would need to know and apply the properties of integer exponents. They would need to be able to use the square root and cube root symbols to represent solutions to their equations. Use numbers expressed in the form of single digit times an integer power of 10. And they need to perform operations with numbers expressed in scientific notation. You note that they're getting closer to real-life skills and application to other content area in these skills. What content do I need to know in order to answer the essential questions? In that example, those examples that were just given, mathematical representation to solve those problems is essential. And using the algebraic symbols with that representation is also key. One of the areas of the Common Core standards is that there needs to be an interconnection between the mathematical ideas as well as an interconnection between the mathematics and real-life skills or skills that are taught in the other content areas. How does this learning connect to my other areas of learning? No longer is every subject area isolated. We need to take a look at what we're learning in one content area and make the connections with what the students are learning in other content areas. We need to integrate science with areas of mathematics such as weights, distances, and measurement. So the mathematics teacher needs to confer with the science teacher with the topics that are being taught at that time. Another example would be economics, real-life skill, debt. Okay, the social studies teacher would be teaching about debt in social studies and would need to make a connection with the mathematics teacher in that area. Some of the tools that the students will be using to assist them in their learning would include standard-specific tools and websites. We are in an age where the technology is very important. We need the 4 C's. We need creativity, we need communications, collaboration, and the use of higher level critical thinking skills. The NETS tools and website. NETS refers to the National Educational Technology Standards, and there are a lot of tools and websites that the teachers need to pull from in order to assist them with the instruction. Also important are 21st century skills that need to be woven into instruction for every standard. I mentioned before the critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, communications, and creativity, innovation. We're looking for students who can succeed in society, and those skills are essential for that. For several years now, we have been working on what we have termed the rigor and relevance framework, and our students, we need to move from level A to level B. Level A in the rigor or quadrant A in the rigor and relevance framework refers to only learning the basic skills. We need to move them up into using those skills in higher order thinking skills, moving them up into quadrant C and applying those to real life and using the higher level thinking skills in real life, which would move them into quadrant D. The English language arts standards are divided into 5 areas of learning: reading standards for literature, reading standards for informational texts, writing standards, listening and speaking standards, and language standards. The major differences to our present standards are that a separate standard for informational text is included. Students will be expected to analyze the key details, ideas, structure, and language of non-fictional texts including things such as essays, biographies, and autobiographies. The higher the students go up in the grade levels, the more informational text will be included in their instructional time. Separate substandards in both literature and informational texts ask for the integration of skills. The reading strand includes reading literature, informational texts, and reading foundations in grades K through 5. And that would include topics that you may be familiar with already, such as phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary are important there. The math standards include standards for mathematical practice, which should apply to all mathematics content areas. Students need to make sense of problems and persevere in problem solving. These are key to real-life skills, real-life applications. They need to reason abstractly and quantitatively, construct viable arguments, and critique the reasoning of others. Mathematical modeling is essential, not just at the primary grades, but at every grade level. They need to be able, even at the 7th and 8th grade level, to use models to help the understanding of mathematical concepts. They need to be able to use the tools of mathematics strategically and appropriately and attend to precision. Precision is one of the keys mathematical practices that will be seen more and more through the adoption of Common Core standards. The mathematics standards themselves are listed in conceptual categories such as number and quantity, algebra, functions, modeling, geometry, statistics, and probability. As stated in prior communications, most 8th graders will complete Algebra 1 in order to be able to take higher levels of math and science in high school. It's key here to look at that idea that not every 8th grade student will complete Algebra 1, but a greater number of students than currently completing Algebra 1 will in the future be able to complete that course before moving to high school.
Now let's take a look at assessment. How will we determine if our students have indeed mastered the important skills? In order to properly and fairly assess our students, we'll be using a variety of assessment types. Formative assessment is an ongoing part of the regular daily instruction. These formative pieces are used as an aid in planning for future instruction. Summative assessments, such as end-of-level tests or end-of-unit tests, and performance assessments will be used to measure how effectively the learning targets have been met. In addition, student portfolios will reflect the level of each student's learning over time. Portfolios are really nothing new to the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. However, we will continue to use them to gather a variety of assessment pieces to reflect student growth in a variety of areas. Portfolios mark a change of emphasis from assessment as being something done to the student to something done with the student. Portfolios will move with the students from grade to grade. The contents of the portfolio will contain a minimum of 2 years' worth of student work to allow for a sense of reflection and review of student progress over time. Let's now take a look at the permanent portfolio that will be offered by the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. Clearly, by taking a look at this document, you can see that the student will be actively involved in the selection of the materials to be put in the student portfolio. In addition, looking across the top, you can see that all subjects throughout the day are clearly considered to be appropriate for inclusion in the student portfolio. Now let's take a look at our grading and report cards. The change in curriculum has certainly had us consider changes in how we can best report student progress to you, the parents and guardians of our students. However, some things will remain constant. The grading system for the primary grades, the students in grades 1 to 3, will remain as rubric-based letter grades. Students in grades 4 to 8 will continue to receive numerical grades. However, one change to note will be that students in grade 3 will no longer receive grades in science and social studies. In addition, in our grading practices, the students will receive 1 overall grade in English Language Arts. Separate grades will not be given for reading, writing, and spelling. Instead, in a manner to assure that you are receiving optimum information about your student's progress, your child will receive a plus or a check mark indicator in each subcategory of ELA. The overall ELA grade will reflect student progress in English Language Arts in its entirety. However, the plus mark will be used to indicate an area or areas where the student has met or exceeded teacher expectations. A check mark will give an indication that the student has not yet met the teacher expectations in ELA. In math, once again, the student will receive 1 overall grade. And just as in ELA, the plus mark or the check mark will be given to indicate the student's particular progress in each subcategory, again, to give you a fuller picture of student progress over time. It is time now to put our hands to the plow and lead our schools through a visible, noteworthy change, preparing our students for post-secondary success. We must set the stage for real educational transformation with innovative approaches to leading, learning, and teaching with the support of the Common Core standards, effective assessment practices, accountability on the part of all, as well as data systems that will guide our decision-making.
In closing, I'd like to wish you well in the implementation of the Common Core state standards. I know that over time you will gain a great sense of comfortability. We promise you our support as we go through these next several years, as we grow that comfortability in the work that we're doing for our students. And like St. Paul, we have a race to run. We have a prize to claim. And this side of paradise, our prize will be that we are providing quality Catholic education for the students in the 21st century. We have no fear because our guide and our support will be the grace of Jesus Christ. And we look forward to all that we will do together to grow that great quality Catholic education in this year of 2011 and going forward. Thank you.